Hello everyone, this is Greyshot17, and today I'm currently talking about the new Commander patch that's going to be releasing. And I feel like a lot of you guys, especially after hearing a certain thing, want my opinion on something, or maybe you want to hear me rant. But at the very least, you're not going to hear it right now. Maybe a little bit later, we'll see. Point is, right now, I'm going to be going over the patch and all the different factions. By the way, you can test this out yourself. It's already downloaded, or I guess accessible to Company of Heroes 2, as long as you have that. All you have to do is go properties, then pick what you want. Also, fun fact, you can go back to the 32-bit if you want. But anyway, for this, you just click the new patch test or the community test and turn that on. You can pretty much check out all these different features. You can go into a mod and again, like the mod I use, and just mess around with all the different units. So I find it really interesting that, again, everything so far they've changed. Some of it good, some of it bad, but I'll let you know my thoughts. Again, as a commentator and a content creator, at the very least I can see how this can affect strategically on a 4v4 to a 1v1 scenario, and essentially my general thoughts. Again, anything that's a little bit more controversial I did want to test. There's some things, of course, I didn't, just because of the fact either A, other people tested, or B, I think I'll test that in a separate video. So I'll kind of go over the hot topic ones that you guys want me to check out. So again, if there's something in here you guys really want me to see tested that isn't already in the video, please let me know and put it down in the comments below. Seriously, your feedback here is what's super helpful, and you can actually help. And that's the thing. Let's say you don't like something in here. You can go in, again, I'll leave this current discussion forum below, but there are these feedback forms. So essentially you can go in and say, hey, I found this bug, or hey, this update that nerfs and or buffs this unit, whatever it does, or changes this commander, it does or does not work based on this. And again, honestly, if you can provide video feedback, screenshots, anything like that, because actually, for example, if you go to the Soviet feedback button right here, you scroll all the way down, you can kind of see here, someone found that there's a bad UI bug with some of the guard troops where they have no model. So it's important in that aspect. So again, your feedback can be heard. Please go here. That's where the community moderator, stuff like that, really take feedback. And that's where a lot of the stuff happens. If you go on Reddit or Twitter, or even make a YouTube video about it like I'm doing now, sure, the general audience might know, but the people that's working on it may not directly see it. Again, just because of the fact that not every single person who beta tests and mods and does all this stuff for Code 2 is just going to see a video unless it's brought to their attention. So make sure you bring it to their attention if you find something you do not like and bring it here. But anyway, that's all the intro stuff. Let's get into the real nitty gritty of this. So the commander changes, interesting. All right, so we got counter battery, which is going to be a generalized thing, which came with, actually, it affected a little bit more than I thought. But anyway, counter battery replaced with hold the line. Hold the line, if recall correctly, is an ability in which you hold a certain point, and eventually the infantry there, of course, I believe gets some buffs, as well as airstrikes come in and target anything in the region. Very difficult to pull off, but very good if you're in defensive play, which makes sense for advanced placements. Now we have Lend-Lease, which is the mortar section, which, again, you have a mortar, you have the assault infantry section, stuff like that, is now being replaced by a strafing run. Okay, so I'm assuming this strafing run is done with the Hawkers instead of the P-47 and stuff like that. So I'll be curious to see how that goes, because again, the Sturmovik strafe is not great. The American one is fantastic. That P-47 strafe is super powerful. So again, if it's something that's even closer to the P-47, that's worth it. And that actually comes up to cover something that I felt that Doctrine was lacking, which was some type of strike. That works especially against infantry. Now then, I do want to point out one little tiny thing. I know the mortar is something that a lot of 1v1 players really enjoy, but with recent addition of the mortar pit now being cheaper, and again, if you lose it, you don't lose as much, I think that they kind of fit both worlds, where you don't need a mortar for the British, but if you do lose the mortar pit, it's not that big of a loss because of the fact you put less into it initially. So it's kind of like the Panzer Quarters. Speaking of the OKW, we got field defenses replaced with For the Fatherland. Now I should note, field defenses are not removed. There's some people confused about that. They're essentially doing what they did with the community doctrine and stuff like that, where they just combined a bunch of abilities into one. Or a better example might be the Overwatch commander, where they combine like the flares and the signal relays on all the battle groups into a single commander ability. That's what they're doing here. They're combining field defenses and the other one into single one. So all the Storm Pioneers and Volk squads will still have the other bonus stuff they get under fortifications. However, the difference is they'll also get For the Fatherland, which is a defensive buff. I think Valiant Assault is offensive. For the Fatherland is a defensive bonus for the infantry, which makes sense again for having something that provides an infantry bonus for defenders in a fortifications doctrine. Special operations. This one's a little interesting. Artillery flares are now replaced by a Sturm Officer. The Sturm Officer itself is a very powerful unit. They have quickly changed the Artillery Officer and the Sturm Officer to a very, very good close range unit overall. Plus, it has a bunch of really nice abilities. So yeah, I could definitely see a bonus here. So it's not like they're decreasing it. And the Artillery Flares is being changed in a way that's actually changing to something else, which I actually kind of like. But again, I know this is also a bit of controversy because one, Artillery Flares are you can't shoot them down, which does suck if you're on the receiving end. And then usually this would be tagged with zeroing artillery, which again, we'll get to that. Oh boy. But they're not removing the ability itself. The OKW, especially this commander, still has access to it. It's just in a different method. But the Sturm Officer, I think for special operations, I don't think ruins the doctrine. And combine that with again, the Obel Soldaten with STG 44s and or the, let's see, yeah, special operations. So yeah, that's still a very powerful infantry-based doctrine, especially also infiltration grenades. Oh my god, that's very powerful. Anyway, Osteer. So they got a number of things. And again, if you're wondering, oh my god, they have a lot more commanders. So first off, the Festing Armor, the Command Panzer IV is replaced by the Panzer IV AJF. They did alter the Command Panzer, which I guess it just didn't fit that doctrine. And if I am thinking of this one correctly, yeah, changing it to just a base Panzer IV seemed, or a different variant of the Panzer IV fits that one a little better. The Festing Support is the Stuka smoke bombs are replaced. I kind of get this because it seems like they're trying to put more recon into the actual factions and move them out of the commanders if possible. And also the Stuka smoke bombs kind of do a dual purpose here. So also, Festing Support, they changed the LAFH out for the Panzer IV. This is also something that seems to be common, like German mechanized, which, again, I love the fact there's a German mechanized unit, and they include an LAFH. I feel like these are just like, okay, we need a more consistent regard for all these different commanders. Let's try to make sure that a mechanized sort of doctrine actually has mechanized or mobile abilities. I feel like that's what they're trying to go here, which makes sense, at least in my thought process. Anyway, you get the resupply station, which is a very interesting ability. We'll get to that a little bit later. So on my ability on that, but also the Panzer IV makes sense. Again, it, at least in my opinion, definitely is a bonus. It does a lot more now than what you used to, which kind of more is closely similar to a Command Panther. So again, I think I'm curious to see how effective this unit can be once we get into the nitty-gritty details in a moment. More changes. Mechanized Grenadier Group, which again is the half-track with the Grenadier inside, is changed with a half-track. Makes sense. Why get a unit inside? We can just get the half-track and then put whatever you want in it. That's me. And again, vehicle repair, nice ability, and I think anytime a unit can get it. But remember, this is on the Osteer. So the Osteer now has vehicle crew repair. That itself could lead to some interesting plays if this is on the Osteer side. Because again, a lot of their abilities a lot of their commanders don't have this ability at all. So the fact this is now being introduced, very interesting. I'm curious to see how it affects like Panther charges and also the repair operations, stuff like that. Anyway, joint operations, large artillery barrage replaced with the resupply station. This is interesting because joint operations is at least one of my favorite Osteer doctrines because, again, I like the defensive nature of it. But having a resupply station, which, again, we'll get to a little bit later, instead of a direct strike, does affect munition count. Because, again, that's the way you can burn munitions. But also, that doctrine, unless I'm mistaken, does still have a recon overflight. So you can still provide recon and artillery strikes based on your own artillery. You just can't call them the light artillery barrage. So, Luftwaffe supply doctrine. Again, you still have this supply drop zone thing, which again would drop down supplies on a certain area. Now that's being changed with an air supply drop. Zug reconnaissance run replaced by a Luftwaffe field officer. So you actually get a unit here, which I think is better. Again, I find that better. Like, okay, instead of a cheap recon that just flies overhead, most other units who have that ability is just a secondary thing. So give it to a unit and actually give that commander a unit instead of just a quick flyby. So again, like it. Also, Stuka, no. We're going to remove that. We're going to give you the heavy bombing run. So the Germans will actually get a bombing run. And again, and people being like, well, they had bombers. they could do that earlier in the war and sporadically later in the war, usually at the death of a large chunk of the Air Force, but they still could do it. So again, having that introduced, I think it's a nice little counterbalance to the British. My only question is, are they going to be like the current British bombers, or are we going to see a return of the super British bombers, or in this case, super German bombers that just level the playing field? And that's just all, everyone picks this just because you can level half the map. Yeah. People say, they're like, I want to go back to older COH2. You don't want untouched British when they first came out. Jesus Christ. Fortifications that couldn't be targeted by any sort of artillery or airstrikes or anything? Oh God, no. All right. Anyway, mobile defense doctrine. Austrian reserves replaced with mobile observation posts. Austrian reserves is one of those weird ones, just because of the fact that it's 2 Ostrupen and it's more expensive than just getting 1, and it doesn't really provide any bonuses. Anyway, so yeah, I don't understand why that doctrine was a thing, or sorry, that commander ability was a thing anymore. So yeah, I'm curious to see how this mobile observation post goes with the well, I know it's in another doctrine, but I'm curious to see how it goes with this. I think mobile defense needed something, and maybe this could be it, but I don't know. I feel like they need something else. Storm doctrine. We have Regal AT mine replaced. Okay, so with a Jaeger command squad. So not bad. I guess you get, again, another unit. And the Regal AT mine, again, that would go with the half track, which in this case you could just put down with the Pioneer squad. So I kind of see the pluses with that. Or like the why it might be a little better just get another unit. Anyway, conscript support tactics for the Soviets. Incendiary barrage replaced with a 152 howitzer strike. This is a direct strike. Again, I know a number of people complained about the doctrine choices with the fact that some units lacked the direct strikes, and I think this is a good compromise. Adding in a unique direct strike to the Soviets, so that way that's other than IL-2 bomb strike. The reason is that IL-2 can be shot down. So having an artillery ability the Soviets can call in to effectively counter, I think is a good method to bring in. I think that's actually a nice way. Just 152 howitzer strike calls in a number of shots, hopefully kills some placements. Anyway, so yes, and I think adding that to different doctrines allows more variety and allows better gameplay, because you don't have to worry about the anti-air of the opponent just shooting down all your planes and oh no, you don't have direct strike anymore. So anyway, guard rifle combined arm tactics. We have the IL-2 Stormvik attack. So that's the 1? Or is that the strafe? It's okay, hold on. IL-2 Stormvik attack. Is that the strafe? No, that's not. That's the loiter, I believe. Again, just a little confusing. I replaced with the IL-2 strafing run. Okay, so it goes from a strafing run to a single being replacing a multiple attack. Okay. Okay, well, again, it's curious to see how much damage that does, because the Soviet one, a little bit lacking. So hopefully they change that a little bit. Then lease tactics. Allied supply drop replaced with a ZIS-6 supply truck. Okay, makes kind of sense. Hey, if you're getting help from the Americans, they're going to give you supplies, and you get supply trucks. So, cool. Now you get supplies in different areas. The Yushka HMG replaced by the M2 HB 50 cal HMG. Yeah, I mean, if you're getting American equipment, it makes sense you're getting a 50 cal. Partisan tactics. partisan tank counters replaced with anti-tank camouflage. I know, okay, this is something that I know a lot of people are like, but why are you replacing the partisans and tank hunters? I mean, sure, yeah, they're fine. I'm just not a huge fan of partisans in general. They're cheap to produce, absolutely, 210, and they can honestly do a lot of damage. In a building, they're very, very good. The problem is when you remove them from a building, you really have to rely on camouflage for them not to be spotted, because if they are and they engage, they're pretty dead. Like, it's not even a fair fight. They're just dead. They're not going to hold up a fight, especially if they have, like, Obosodotin or even better infantry. So replacing it with something like anti-tank camouflage makes sense, because partisans, again, are ambushed mechanics, and if you're going to put an ambush mechanic into the partisan doctrine, yeah, anti-tank guns, camouflage, and firing a volley at an unsuspecting Panzer IV makes perfect sense. And then, again, here we have the Commissar, which I think works a lot better, because, again, it's a better unit that can improve units. My only concern with that would be, and again, I forget what's in there, but I don't believe there's other partisans in there. I think partisan had both tank hunter and normal partisan. This one, I believe, just had the tank hunter partisan. So the fact that those are removed, you add the Commissar, then the conscripts are the main focus of that commander, they get the bonuses. Infantry repair kits replaced with air supply drops. Okay, sure. And then, not really much to say, just your conscripts won't be repairing as much, and instead you get some additional support. I'm, again, curious to see how effective those air supply drops can be. Shock troops replaced by assault guards. I know they're adding these assault guards in, and like I said, that apparently came with some UI issues, but again, close range infantry. Hopefully they provide interesting, like, again, my method is, I know the guards are in there. Is this just to make doctrines so that way they're not like in a half track or something like that? They're actually a unit in the game you can deploy via commander without this unnecessary half track or something. To me, that sounds more fitting, and the fact that shock troops are already in a number of doctrines, you know, gives some other units some just rewards. Soviet industry tactics. Vehicle crew repairs replaced, okay, with recon overflight. And then the allied supply drop, which, just for reference, it's the ability when a plane flies over and then drops resources back in your base. So, again, it's kind of curious to see, okay, if they're just moving stuff around. I mean, I'm assuming they're not going to change the problem with that ability, which is as soon as the enemy has anti-air, it's just going to shoot it down immediately. So then it just becomes, well, you can spend 100 munitions to have a plane crash on your own units, because it's going to fly over the enemy and then probably hit your own. Now that's coming with a ZIS supply truck. Again, if you're going with the full Soviet industry and get additional supplies, that's a more stable way of getting it, so that makes sense. I'm just curious why Reserve Army got it, because it doesn't change the whole reason why this thing is not, well, not used, but it's not as, people don't use it as much, I would say. Also, this kind of helps because, again, hopefully I'm getting this ability correct. If you're dropping in resources through this allied supply drop, through the Soviet industry, again, it can be shot down, have issues. Here, you're going to have more stable supplies, so you're going to be able to rush that armor, as well as support all those repair stations you're going to get, right? Because the vehicle recruit repairs that I'm thinking of here are the, they're not changing the repair stations. I'll check this, and again, I'll make a note. But they're just changing the unit's ability to heal itself. So if the vehicle crew repairs are just the unit just healing itself, and you can build all those stations, then that's fine, and you're gonna have an industry that can support all the munitions you're gonna be spending. So that, again, works out. Instead of burning it on all these planes. Soviet shock army tactics. The ML-20 howitzer replaced with the T-30-45. Okay. Wow, they're completely changing this one. Got the howitzer strike, so again, another direct strike. You got T-30-45, and conscript assault package is replaced with an IL-2 recon run. So is that just I'm assuming that it would just be a run through and just a flyby, which, again, I don't really care a lot for the flybys anymore. Look, assault for the British makes sense. You have other things tied into there, but like now that you have the major, now that you have the assault officer and the OKW trucks that can deploy their own recon for pretty cheap, and they're pretty much a run. Yeah, doctrines that have these abilities are, at least in my opinion, less likely. Unless you just want to make sure everyone has a recon unit, then okay. Tank hunters, for goddamn, it's long enough. I remember them talking about this, and people are like, no, how dare you change the ML20 and tank hunters to a B4, so they didn't touch it. Yeah, if you're going with tank hunters, and you're going to deal with a tank, then the ML20 or the B4 is the better option. Just straight up. I don't. You could literally go through hundreds of clips on my channel of a B4 taking out an armored vehicle and easily neutralizing it while charging or something like that. So yeah, that makes total sense. Again, I don't know why they didn't put it there. I will say that's before they change below, but we'll get to that. So meanwhile, finally, we get to the American forces, and what do they entail? 240s being changed. Thank God. Okay, so now we'll actually hit the place you want to, and then everything else will go around, plus they decrease cost. Finally. I'm sorry, Armored Company feels like it got gypped for years. Like, I feel so bad, because I know a lot of people are like, Greyshot, why do you hate Armored Company so much? It's a bad doctrine. And this makes it a lot better by having a strike that will actually hit the target. Now, the question is, will actually hurt it? But yeah, because you can see here, shells still, however, not enough to fully destroy items such as a howitzer without additional hits. Fine. As long as it can hit it and actually do something rather than hit everywhere else around it. Like, goddamn, I could build a B4 long range and fire, and it would probably be more accurate than the 240. So, yeah, I'm glad that they did this. Alright, cavalry riflemen, the covering fire costs decreased. Okay. I know a lot of people are like... okay, let me rephrase that. A lot of people maybe use this. That's great. I see cavalry riflemen more just a generalized close quarters unit combined with anti-tank warfare rather than covering fire. I know it's a good ability, but hey, now it's cheaper for you, so there you go. Alright, combined arms. We got, well, Combined Arms is a difficult ability, and this is, by the way, that weird one in the heavy cavalry that's like, it's a pink ability with a Sherman and a unit there. You click on it. It gives bonuses when an armored unit and infantry are close proximity. These bonuses have been reduced. It's scaled incredibly well with late game armies thanks to the bonuses that provide. The bonuses have been reduced. Some items, such as the vehicle sight bonuses, were moved to force infantry who do gain sight bonuses to scout ahead to make use. Okay. I feel like this is one of the abilities that people, like, who know the Americans, like, Major Bones probably knows this ability, like, top to bottom. I don't be as much because I don't play the USF in terms of the heavy cavalry as much. Or the USF in general, definitely not heavy cav. So, hopefully this kind of fits that play style. Again, it's just an ability I don't generally use, so hopefully this fits better with, let's see, it's decreasing the accuracy bonus, decreasing the reload bonus. Okay, so they're decreasing all the bonuses, removing the sight bonuses, and decreasing cost. So, I'm very confused. While Combined Arms is a difficult ability to use, it's scaled incredibly well with late game armies thanks to the bonuses that provides. So what you're saying is, hey, all the people out there that were using it, or the very few people out there that are using it well, because you guys figured it out, we're going to decrease it, but not change how the fundamental ability is used for people to understand it? Okay. Sure. That one's very weird. That's like... Yeah, I feel like people who like this ability will kind of be upset that it's kind of being decreased, not because it's a bad ability, but apparently it's a good ability, but apparently, like, it's not saying... Yeah, I'm kind of curious, like, usually there's a fundamental problem, like, for example, the LFH thing. There is a fundamental problem with the LFH. having a bug that automatically tracks certain units on occasion. Now, me and Rifle did some testing. It's a bug that happens very rarely. Like, we tried to replicate it on a bunch of units. It's not something that happens every time, like some people are saying. That's not. But point is, and I mean by tracking as it will track units all the way back to base or something like that. Not the fact it tracks or doesn't automatically target. This doesn't have a bug or something. Like, this general thing doesn't have something that I'm immediately seeing. And it's not something that, at least in my experience, that I've had negative interactions with. Like, for example, when Pathfinders and Jaeger Light Infantry became overpowered, yeah, they needed changed. Or 15-minute Tigers. They're saying here it's, hey, it's a good ability. But anyway, to the few people who realized it, we're going to decrease it. Okay, so the few people who like it, you're not going to like it, so no one uses it. Like, that's what I'm seeing, right? Like, unless I'm mistaken, please let me know down in the comments down below. Alright, that's enough on that. Fired up. The CP requirement fired up is being reduced to allow Rifleman Company the ability to have a mobility advantage early in the match. And again, this allows Riflemen to have sprint, I believe. Okay, cool. And again, this would help on maps for, such as versing, let's say, steps with the OKW that could deploy a Kubel and rush a opponent and try to hold them back, wait for the infantry to come on up. That helps a little bit to allow the Riflemen maybe some time or to move up quicker. Heavy cap smoke barrage cheaper. Makes sense. Again, I like the smoke barrage. A lot of people don't for some reason. I don't know why. But then they refuse to get the grenade function. They try to go for the mortar, but then they don't use them. It's weird. Point is, I'm glad they made cheaper. It's a nice little smoke ability. Cool. Helps get through all the Osteer MG spam. Iron Path, again, nothing here so far I'm finding overpowered or something to, like, breaks the game. I find the weirdest one right now is Combined Arms, I think. Yeah, the weirdest one is Combined Arms. That's like, yeah, that, please someone let me know. Or maybe I'll do some testing on it, but yeah, that seems weird. Iron Pathfinding Barrage, increasing the delay. Artillery warning flares now appear at the start ability rather than at the beginning of the first shell strike. Look, kind of makes sense. I'm sorry. Yeah, it should have something to notify you about artillery strike like everything else in the game. And delaying it a little bit. Hey, if it's overperforming, makes sense. They did it with the Osteer airstrikes. And again, I've seen people get absolutely annihilated by an Iron Pathfinding Barrage. Give an extra second, allows a newer player to figure out what's going on. All right, the Pershing. This one's a little confusing. So they're decreasing the health, but again, they're doing the damage reduction. So again, that way it heals quicker. I did find the Pershing when I did use it does take a while to repair. So the fact they're changing that and providing it looks like a speed boost, good. They're also changing all the heavy tanks to have 11 CP. So that will increase the time by like a few minutes. I don't expect a huge rush. You're not going to get 15-minute Tigers, but I feel like they realized, okay, heavy tanks take a little too long to come out. Although you can still probably get one like 18 minutes. So I think now you could probably get one like, if you're really rushing, like 17 minutes. Again, the problem is not that having resources, because a lot of people can get those resources. The problem is getting the damage and XP from killing enemy units to your CP count to increase it. That's the biggest draw. So the fact that it's one down, that can actually make a major impact. So again, curious to see. And again, fine, perfect. Faster repairs, something I've seen in the past. I didn't really complain. That's something I've had note of. So good. Anyway, Sherman 105mm Dozer. Yes, thank God. They're changing it. More front armor. They're increasing its speed, acceleration, and now has a decent barrage ability to hit things farther. It needed something to separate it from a base Sherman with explosive rounds, because unfortunately, yes, it does have a bulldozer attachment to the front, but it didn't have the armor or anything like that, I feel, to really make it worth it. This seems to make it worth it. I'm actually curious to see how effective it can be. And I think that this alone helps make Armor Company better. Combine that with the 240, you make Armor Company now from probably the lowest or weakest commander the USF has, now probably closer to, I would say, not the best, but at least mid-tier. If the 105, if the bulldozers can be changed, and that has changed, then yeah, it would at least be mid-tier. But we'll see. Alright, the Sherman Calliope. To make it easier to eliminate the Calliope when it is caught out of position, the unit is having its health and armor reduced. I mean, okay, that makes sense. I mean, like, yeah, Calliopes can take a number of hits. They're annoying to take down. The fact to make it easier, okay, makes them more vulnerable and makes it so that the American has to protect it. And hopefully, by the way, I hope this also this does allow for the American forces to start placing their own mines or doing other things. Because I feel like people get cocky when they have a unit that is harder to kill, so they bring it up close, try to kill something, and then move it out. There's always that risk reward, and having something with so much armor and that can take so many hits, just annihilate your forces and just leave, can be annoying. So the fact they're like, okay, minimum range is being increased. Also, the fact that we're decreasing its armor, we're making it seem like this unit is designed not to shotgun units and then instantly get away. And also but we're still keeping enough armor so that way, again, if something does try to dive it can take a hit or two, especially with something weaker. I'm assuming like a Stug or a Puma, or even bounce off it, and then it can get away. So, again, this is something we're more iffy on, but I'm curious to see how testing and stuff does. See how it moves. The EZ-8 Sherman is receiving a number of changes to put it in its range of premium tanks, such as the Comet. Oh, this is interesting. So it's increasing fuel, rotation rate, speed increased, range increased. A Comet is something that, again, it's a main battle tank, pretty damn good, and again, very good against infantry. So the fact they're moving the EZ-8 to that, that could be good. Like, a Comet itself is nothing to sneeze at. Now, and especially with the recent patches, which has brought the Comet more to the forefront, if that's what they do with the EZ-8, again, you still have the 76, which I think they're more is like a mixture between mostly a normal Sherman, but then has the potential to hit armor. This thing is like, okay, no, this is just a general battle tank that can take, again, and that's how they're kind of optimizing it for. But it's still a Sherman, but it's just specialized in that instead of Sherman specializing against armor or Sherman specializing against infantry, etc. So yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious to see how this goes. This could be good. Again, the EZ-8's something that's weird there, where it has that issue of, is it good enough to get, especially because I've seen it done in mass and just completely fail. So I'm curious, especially compared to its results compared to the 76. So hopefully this allows it to really stick up for itself. Because I feel like this might be something as well to be like, yeah, I feel like it needs something. We'll see if this is it. AMA Greyhound. All right, cancer shot. Oh my god. Are they putting it back to normal? No, they're just reducing its cost. Okay. Due to the short range of this ability, which exposed the MA to danger, we're reducing its cost. So, all right. I mean, are you? Hold on. Give me a second to ponder on that. So what you're saying is, hey, this ability that puts this unit in harm's way, we'll make it cheaper. So what? It's only 5 munitions. It's not much. Like, I feel like the correct statement would be, due to the short range ability which exposes the MA to danger, we are increasing the damage to make it a higher risk, high reward scenario, not reduce 5 munitions. That's, I feel like, what they should have leaned that with. I mean, the canister shot is something where I'm like, it's fine. It's nowhere near how it was. And I think the Americans would be fine if it went a little closer to that sort of thing. But yeah, that's negligible. Mortar half track, white phosphorus cost 25 to 15. Cool, more white phosphorus in my face. P4, again, might be a little bit of a spammy. P47 strafing run has been adjusted to evenly distribute its damage in a line with no longer singling out a particular unit in a given attack area. Because, yeah, by God, it would. Holy shit. It would annihilate anything in its way. So, okay, that's better. That's better. All right. Pathfinders, all variants are, again, they're better against snipers, it looks like. An enemy sight bonus 50 to 45. Squad still maintains 50 sight. Okay. Okay, that's good. That's good. All right. Again, kind of a nice little thing because they need something to fight snipers. Because every other, they're trying to increase something like the Kubel and the Scout Car to fight it. So Pathfinders make sense. Rangers, I saw this. Okay, so I saw Tightrope Sing on this. Great. This makes Rangers more competitive even without upgrades, which is something they desperately needed. So again, They changed it to an M1 Grand. You could go on Tightrope's channel to see his damage report, but I really enjoy how this. All right, rear echelons. Weirdly enough, this is something that I completely forgot about, but makes perfect sense if you're going to remove the LAFH counter barrage. You have to remove the rear echelon rifle grenade, because if you're going by the standard of a ability that doesn't require any input, the rifle grenades are something. I completely forgot about that. But yeah, they just auto fire like crazy. But now there is some input into it. So auto fire changed to a target ability with no munitions cost, 15-second recharge. Okay. So, alright, that makes sense. It no longer takes weapon slots. So that's also a nice little thing to it. But yeah, if you're going to change the LAFH, you have to change this because it automatically yeah, that's alright. Yeah, I mean, that makes perfect sense. You'd have to change that as well. Okay. Reserve armor. Again, I think that's fine. Maybe a little spammy from what I saw recently, but I think them doing this is perfectly reasonable. Reserve armor. The dozer blade has been removed to reserve armor due to the effectiveness of the 76 millimeter Sherman. Interesting. Rename the the Sherman. Remove the dozer blade ability. Now only provides 76 millimeter Sherman. Okay. All right. I mean, a 76 millimeter Sherman is very good. So, yeah, it makes sense why they kind of focus there. I do like the blades, but the Sherman itself is very, very good. All right. The rifle company. You get advanced infantry gear. Rear echelon package now provides 10% less received accuracy. Given how the flamethrower upgrade takes up the sweeper slot, the rear echelon takes a second rear echelon squad is generally redundant. We are improving the upgrade, which makes rear echelon upgrade with the flamethrower more durable. Okay, cool. Again, that's something that I never thought of, but yeah, the rear echelons need something, so good for them. It seems like in general they're decreasing the white phosphorus overall, but let's see. The cost of white phosphorus is being reduced to match other light artillery abilities such as Wehrmacht light artillery barrage and the recon support butterfly bombs. Okay, cool. Again, I don't think there's really too much to say there. It seems like both Armor Company and the Easy 8 Company have both been altered to make them better, which is good. I think they were definitely on the weaker end of things, and I'm gonna make the assumption that the Greyhound ability was something to try to appease recon support people, but if Armor Company is good now, and Easy 8 Company has also been altered, and again, what I see here, they're trying to push up commanders that aren't as used. So if that's the case, then the weakest one would be recon support, at least in my head. But again, it'll be curious to see how things progress, and do these changes actually push them up, or does it keep them where they are with the commanders? All right, so overall with the Americans, good. I don't see anything here too negative. Some questionable things like the Calliope, just because I'm curious to see how it's implemented. But overall, I don't think anything here is a negative impact on the game at all. Like, I don't see anything here that is like overpowered or could fundamentally change the game. Now we're on to the British. Air resupply. Alright, air resupply operation. The following change to this ability gives the players more control over where the items land. Alright, that's cool. Alright, that's awesome. You get the pick. Assault. The cost is increased, and okay, so the accuracy boost is decreased, but they're also, and minus 10% received accuracy on all frontline infantry. Okay, so they're changing that to compensate. But you also get the recon planes too, so yeah, that makes sense, increased cost, because you get so many good things for that ability. Assault sections. Now the grenades range has been increased. Alright, oh, this is for the smoke grenade. Okay, nice. The crocodile has been changed, but they're doing that with all the heavy tanks. Commandos. The extra grenade range at Veteran C2 is being reduced, similar to the Pens Grenadier, and the extra range made the Gammon Bob too potent. Yeah, no shit. Like, Panzer Grenadiers and them, they would just be like, oh, you're retreating? No, you're not. Veteran C2 plus 25% grenade range is now being changed to a recharge rate on the Gammon Bomb and smoke grenades. So their idea is, okay, we're not going to increase the range, but we're just going to allow them to do more. Great. Wonderful. So people who can master that grenade throw are really going to enjoy it. Commando gliders can now train additional commandos when in friendly territory. Nice. Again, good. All right, the concentration fire operation. Yeah, so like the other one, it's going to be pinpoint, but then they saturate the area. Okay. Again, I think that's fine. Have general area, one hit, and the rest can go anywhere. So, makes sense because it goes similar to Armor Company in terms of how that doctrine's 240mm was changed. Fort HQ, the artillery barrage ability is replaced with air medical supplies. Say no more. That makes total sense because it's weird how that building, you can't do both medics and Fort Retreat Point. So now they're like, okay, you get the Fort Retreat Point, but then you call in medics if you don't automatically have the medic upgrade. I still think the medic upgrade is worthless then on that unit, but and again, you could always get your own medic squad, so it doesn't change things too much. But yeah, no, at least it's something. It's something. Hold the line. Oh right. Oh wait, so they are changing hold the line. Okay, so I have to change. Hold the line is being adjusted to be cheaper due to the very expensive nature of the commander's existing abilities. Yeah, it was pretty expensive at 250, and very few people I knew actually would pull it off very well. It's kind of like the American ability I talked about. Additional planes now come in slower to a maximum of 2 per sector, and the rocket plane now will only attack vehicles. The rocket plane wouldn't attack vehicle. What? All right, so decreased cost. Hopefully that makes it more likely to be seen and used. Plane interval delay from 10 to 20. Good. I'm glad. They're adding more stuff in there. Awesome. Improved fortifications. This is the most delectable thing of the day. So the improved fortifications, which is in the, again, the British Advanced Emplacement Doctrine, is being changed. This is will give the mortar emplacement 17-pounders new abilities that does not impact their survival. So they're not changing. Again, you can still hit it and will still die like the rest, but you get things such as a let's see, white phosphorus barrage to the mortar emplacement. You get the 17-pounder, which has high explosive shells, moderate scatter, and then you also get the Bofors, the stover chains, and the improved fortifications. Which Bofors is going to take a large beating, makes sense. The 17-pounder, if you're going to go similar to something like a YAG, then yeah, it's going to explosive rounds as a native fit, weird as that is. Have a mortar emplacement with white phosphorus, yeah, because the Americans have it and they can use it for the mortar half track. So all these make sense, and I'm glad that they're doing something. My only issue is, please make it so that way somehow, some way, that their special abilities you get with each of these different fortifications, you can put an infantry unit on, or you can make it a forward assembly. Please have the forward assembly allow bonuses for that, because I actually really enjoyed that risk reward of putting a forward assembly to get additional bonuses for your fortifications, because now you throw an infantry in there and it's very rare that actually happens. So at least my opinion. Land mattress has been adjusted to be more mobile. Oh yeah, because this thing was a hell of a thing to move around the battlefield. So yeah, the white phosphorus barrage has also been reduced. Okay, so it looks like in general they're decreasing white phosphorus. And again, that could be interesting because white phosphorus itself is not something that does nothing. It does quite a bit because, again, it decreases your health. It won't kill you, but something could sneeze on you, and that will kill you. So, yeah, they're decreasing the time it takes to set up and tear down. Okay, makes it harder for a Stuka to come in. The M3 resupply half-track. The M3 half-track has the CPU requirements reduced to better match performance and timing. The weapon rack restriction has been removed to incentivize the use of the half-track. Furthermore, with the recent change to the weapons that the M3 can drop, we are changing it so that only the owning player units can receive the weapon upgrades. Ooh, okay. I mean, you're making it come earlier to compensate. But that means, I mean, like, also, it has a weird assortment of weapons as well. I don't know a lot of other factions that want it. Like, the Americans really love their bars. So then it comes to the Soviet. And the Soviet now has SVTs and a few other things, but a lot of them don't. So if, let's say they have something that doesn't have that, sure. But I don't know many doctrines that complement well with the LMG that they would get from the Brits. I mean, it's fine, don't get me wrong, but it's just something I'm thinking of that I'm like, okay, maybe they just saw it wasn't really performing well with other teams, because I don't really see other teams really abusing it. So maybe it just wasn't performing well. So like, yeah, we'll just keep it within the player because no one else was really using it, and maybe that's just causing issues on behind the scenes stuff. So maybe I'm wrong with that. Maybe it was something that a lot of people used and I just didn't see it. But it's not like I saw a lot of Soviets or Americans with British equipment. So raid section. 1 CP starts a 5-man squad, does not get received accuracy. Cover bonus for regular infantry sections, but also does not get the weapon penalties when fighting out of cover. Okay, interesting. Can be upgraded with the Vickers LMG. Has the access to fast throwing Molotovs and sprint abilities. So 1 CP starts as a 5-man squad. So they're changing the rates. Maybe I'm confused. Hold on. So they're actually changing it to it being a unit instead of just other things. Okay, I'm curious to see how this goes. I'm definitely gonna add that to the list of things to test. That one's more question mark. Recovery sappers. Okay, so yeah, let's see. To give players an option of going for a heavier sapper squad, because that's a problem with these. They're fine, but you need them to survive. Recovery sappers are now available from the start of the match. Available at the start for 250 manpower. Starts with a sweeper and 5 men. No longer affected by the bolster. Initial cooldown 35. Smoke grenade locked behind platoon command post. Makes sense to make sure it doesn't not too powerful early on. Spawn flare removed at target location. Okay, because it would highlight enemy wrecks for you to see, I believe, when you would call them in. So okay. Tank gunner infantry section. Tank gunner infantry section has been adjusted to be better against vehicles by not being dominant on cover for their AT weapons. Their veterancy has been adjusted to be geared towards fighting vehicles. Veterancy 2 now provides 15% weapon penetration. Veterancy 3 is decreased reload. Okay. I mean, makes sense, I think. I mean, like, again, I think it's like penals where they changed the PTRS rifles so that way they're more effective. Again, I didn't see a lot of use for tank hunters. They're fine, but if they're making better, great. Vanguard Loiter. The following change will make the rockets of the Hawker more reliable. Currently, the Hawker overshoots targets by a considerable margin. Yeah, I guess compared to a P-47, I could definitely see it's not being as effective. So it looks like they're just making it more. The Vickers differentiate the Vickers K light machine gun. The Vickers K is being tuned to a weapon capable of fighting at medium and short range that can be fired. So yeah, this is the thing that like drops from the vehicle. So they're making it close range. So okay, if you're giving a close range unit to the Soviets, they could easily get PPSH or the SVTs with, again, having that drop with the PPSH on the penals. Conscripts could pick it up, and that would be relatively fine, but okay. Again, it's just one of those things where like, all right. I'm curious to see how it's implemented and how it's used. Again, a question mark. Overall, the British, fine. Again, I think fortifications definitely needed something, so that being adjusted is good in my opinion. Some little nagging things about additional airstrikes, fine. This is as the biggest question mark is raid selection to see how that's used. But yeah, lane matches need to be a little faster. But hold the line needed to be changed because I don't really see a lot of people using it. Overall, good. I think this was a good selection. I don't see anything here that's overpowered or changes things to make the game worse or remove it from being a fun game for the British. I think this is all stuff that adds unique stuff, especially for the fortifications. All this cool stuff that you now get with those fortifications will definitely incentivize that. Because honestly, I don't see as many fortification strategies that are especially used effectively. So hopefully that helps. 105 for the OKW now. So we're now there. OKW, since off-map abilities cannot be targeted in the base, the amount of munitions needed to escalate the ability is being reduced by a significant margin. Previously, the increase was due to the fact you could destroy the entire USF base. The number of shells would be lowered to the old. Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad that they're changing it to better suit it. Again, I don't really use that because, again, I think it's scavenge. No, it's scavenge. So yeah, just hopefully that works. Again, it's something I just not as familiar with. 280 I'm familiar with. They're increasing the penetration. Wait, hold on. The following change should allow the rocket penetration from Firestorm to destroy stationary team weapons. Previously, there was times it would fail to kill howitzers. Okay, so you're increasing the penetration. Will that cause an increase on armor? AoE penetration to 40. It would fail to kill howitzers. I mean, yeah, I can see that. So yeah, fine, it will kill that. But does that mean it's going to change its effectiveness against armor? That would be my only question. Is would increasing its general penetration do that? Maybe it won't, but curious. But hey, if it kills team weapons, good, it should. If it's like this powerful rocket barrage, then yes, it should. Now the flag emplacement is being changed, so expect to see maybe a few more of these babies, and also cannot be decrewed. So OKW will be like, oh, I can make it, and the enemy won't take it away from me. Perfect. Command Panther. This is where I was talking about the change for the artillery flares. It's now being accessed to it, and essentially it can be fired from it. So essentially, it's like the command tank or the command panzer ability that you give to like tigers or panthers, but instead of an artillery strike, you get flares, so you get recon, which again I easily see here, because if you're trying to allow it to see farther and be a actual command unit to tell them what to do, then yeah, having it have artillery flares is a nice little bonus. And it's only 50 munitions, so I know it does have a range, which does limit it to more frontline stuff, but still, it's not as costly. So they decreased the cost for it. So again, very curious to see how it's used, and if it's the same general ability of the flares, because it says flares plural, not single flare, then if it's doing the same radius, same stuff like that, and just closer to the front, that's still a win for the OKW. Command Tiger. Command Tiger no longer has debuff. Wait, Command Tiger ability no longer debuffs the tank. Yeah, again, this is a commander I just don't see as many tigers with. Usually people just prefer the King Tiger. The cost is to 35, and Veterans 2 now provides a minus 10% weapon scatter. I feel like they're just trying to incentivize this tank, which makes sense. I just don't see it as much in 4v4s. Early Warnings Flare. The deployment time for the Early Warning Flare trap is being reduced to make the using the ability less time consuming. Okay, that's nice. Again, it's in the oh god, Overwatch, I want to say. So it like detects enemy positions if they go over a certain point, make it easier to put up. Sounds good. Emergency repairs. The repair rate of emergency repairs is being reduced while the duration is being increased to make the repairs take longer, but to restore the same amount of hit points. So repair rate is 30 to 20, but duration has been increased. Okay, the ability restored hit points too quickly and got vehicles back in the fray after an incredible short period of time in comparison to most other repair abilities. Okay, so they're just equalizing it. That seems fine. For the Fatherland, the duration of the Fourth Fatherland is being increased. Again, this is now with the fortifications ability. So Fourth Fatherland is being increased while the combat speed bonus is being removed to match other infantry bonuses. So duration is increased, speed bonus deactivated in combat, recharge rate from 60 to 90. Okay, so it takes a little bit longer to bring back up. This is what I'm talking about when combining heavy fortifications and field defenses, so you still get everything. All good. Incendiary munitions for LEG cost has been decreased, so they're doing the same thing, and they're making it seems preferable to fire compared to the white phosphorus. The thing, and I feel like this was brought up, and I saw Major talk about this, where it's like, okay, well the fire will kill units, but the white phosphorus won't, and it's like the same cost. True, but I was trying to think about this, and I'm like, okay, why would they keep it the same? Well, fire doesn't, unless I'm mistaken, doesn't slow down the unit, so it has a higher chance to kill it, but it's not keeping it in there. White phosphorus slows down the unit, also affects vehicles, but it doesn't kill it. You need something else to finish it off. Otherwise, all the opponent could really do is fall back, heal the unit without any sort of manpower loss, and they would be fine. Whereas fire would kill the manpower and actually be a manpower cost and burden to the opponent, and possibly could kill it, but it's not slowing them down, so it makes it harder to finish them off if you have something else there, because they're still going the same speed. White phosphorus, no, they're just slowing down, so you might be able to finish them off, especially because their health is so low, it just takes one shot. So, just curious on that. I'll be curious to see how all these cheap special barrages really affect the game. Yag Tiger, again, piercing shot, decrease, fine. King Tiger, pintle cost, fine. Again, it was weird because I think it was 70 munitions, so I think they're just like, okay, just make all the MGs relatively the same because they do relatively the same thing. LEFH, again, I'm glad that, again, it was changed because there was enough things there. In my opinion, you just need more direct strikes, But I'm glad the community team take a look and saw that there was definitely some things that could alter. And from what it seems like, they're going back to COH1. Again, didn't play a lot of COH1 compared to COH2. But I can definitely see that they're taking inspiration from what everyone has been telling me and using these fragmentation airburst shells. It's going to be weird for an artillery piece to fire them, unless I'm mistaken. But I'm curious to see how it does. This will be something I'm curious to see the damage it does. But I'm glad that, hey, people said there's an issue here. And they saw, okay, the bug, we might not be able to change the bug, so why not change and fundamentally make it something that people like from COH1? I think that's a good compromise. And it's still, unless I'm mistaken, still an ability in which it will counter enemy artillery units via now the fragmentation damage. The only thing I could possibly see here in this situation is the fact that you now have these airburst shells, and again, from what it says, airburst shells have a larger damage radius but less direct damage and low penetration. Okay, so if it has low penetration and it has, and again, no cost, kind of makes sense. Because from what I'm seeing here, it's not gonna kill, let's say, a Sherman Calliope. Like, the armor on there is still gonna be fine because it has low penetration, so it's not going to do that much to it. The biggest issue I see here is an infantry killer, which also is fine because if its main prerogative is to counteract enemy infantry, then the ML20 would be decrewed. It won't be killed. It won't be destroyed, hopefully, by this assault. It will just be, you just remove veterancy from it. The Katyushas, the only thing I could see being an issue, or maybe something along those lines, but like a Calliope or a Priest or Sexton, if it's doing less damage and has low penetration, I don't see it being a high issue for those types of units. It will be a big damage dealer for nearby infantry or infantry-based artillery, and specifically by losing and decrewing it rather than actually killing it. So again, it's just curious to see if the lack of killing the unit would need to change. But again, we'll see. We'll have to see here. OL Blitz. The following change will make the OL Blitz more vulnerable to attack from infantry units and machine guns caught out of position. Good. All right. Makes sense. It's just a truck. A machine gun should do quite a bit. All right. This is something which I find so fascinating. The gun health of the Pak-43 is being increased to make the weapon more difficult to destroy through the weapon while still being vulnerable to decrewing. Penetration is being increased as well, so pretty much it's going to pen everything. Okay. I have two minds about this. One, you are making a Pak-43 that already fires through any obstacle, now guaranteed to hit anything, including like a croc and stuff like that. Look, if it's 1,000, I'm assuming in the COH2 meta that's max ability to pen, and also increasing its health. So you're making something that literally can fire through anything that's destructible, or forest. The ability to guarantee a hit, as long as it won't bounce. So, it could miss, but it will, if it hits, it's penning. And also now can take additional rounds. I didn't think the Pak-43 needed a boost. Like, this is something I'm like, I don't think this is a good idea. Like, in general, I don't think increasing Pak-43 is generally a good idea because I already think it's good enough where it is. So, this is the first thing in this whole thing where I'm like, this could make something very bad happen in multiplayer with more Pak-43s. Wonderful. My opinion. Alright, we'll see how it does. So yeah, this is the first thing I honestly see where it could be a problem. I could easily see this being a issue because now you're increasing Pak-43, already a very good unit, to that line of being something that becomes more of a annoyance, something that becomes just like a wall that you hit in a multiplayer game. But again, we'll see. We'll have to see how it fares. But yeah, that's the first kind of like, this might be an overpowered unit. Pawns of Fusiliers to improve their effectiveness in the early game without making them stronger in the mid. Oh god, they've been trying to alter these things. Peasant Fusiliers are now having their rifles adjusted, making the following changes will give them starting rifles almost on par with a Volksgrenadier squad at shorter ranges, while their total DPS should be the same. Wait, the following change will make the starting rifles almost on par with Volksgrenadier's rifles at shorter ranges. So you're making Panzer Fusiliers, a long-range unit, forced to fight close range until they get to G43, and then they get long range? Please, hopefully I'm reading. Hopefully that's wrong. But that's what I'm seeing here. Giving units that are designed to fight long range, forced to fight close range in order to have a better shot. Okay. Carry on. Radio silence. All right, so now the speed boost is being disabled, but it's being increased while you're out of combat. Increased cooldown is being increased as well, so you don't constantly use it, but its duration's being increased. Cost is increased dramatically. Holy mackerel. And CP, yeah, you're not going to see an early rush from this. Now plays radio static at the start of the ability when activated for all players. Wait. Now plays radio static at the start. Oh, so you actually... So if you... Oh, that's cool. That's a really cool thing. So it's literally like someone's messing with your radio. Okay, that's a nice little thing. That's cool. So that way it gives the player like heads up they are hacking you. I see if a player's paying attention, they'll know. Storm Officer. Force Retreat no longer improves the performance of hostile infantry. Oh, okay. That, again, very powerful unit overall, so they'll nerf. I don't think it's a big deal. Alright, Storm Pioneer Flamethrower, no longer mutual exclusive with the Minesweepers. You can get both. Awesome. Storm Tiger. Yeah, I heard about this one. So they're making sure it doesn't get abandoned when it reloads. Okay. Okay, so here's the problem that I could see with this. So the Storm Tiger would normally, and this is just me, I wouldn't reload because of the risk of, you know, decrewing. So, if there's no risk, then you just reload. Because it has enough armor to take enough shells that it's probably worth it. And it's in a doctrine where you can activate a cheap vehicle crew. So, if you really are worried about being damaged and, you know, you're lacking engineers, you could automatically heal anyway. So, yeah, it may take additional hit, but I think it would now be worth it. So the question is, does the Storm Tiger, now the fact that you don't have to worry about it for a longer period of time, now that's gone. Like, the fact that you now have to worry about it coming up very quicker because it can reload faster, will that make the Storm Tiger more of a headache? Again, a unintended side effect I could see here, just in gameplay perspective. So that might be something you have to watch as well with the Storm Tiger, because one little thing could fundamentally change it. Valiant Assault. All right, Valiant Assault is having the offensive power reduced to reduce the power of the veterancy infantry under its influence. Yeah, because Vet 5 guys really suck. But they're not. But okay, but they're changing the received accuracy to compensate. All right, this is something that again is so good. Oh god. All right. So, Zeroing Artillery now displays this area on the tactical map. Great, because again, it's weird how it didn't. But they're decreasing the cost. Okay. So, I'm going to read this here because I skipped over for a reason. Zeroing Artillery has been adjusted to be cheaper, which should see this ability more used. Really? Really? Okay. So, here's my problem with this. You already gave fortifications more abilities, right? Just go with me here. So, you gave fortifications, combined it into one. You gave it for the Fatherlands, which is a great defensive bonus. So that's really going to help the infantry. And now you're making it so that way zeroing is cheaper, but it's still doing the same damage, which is a fucking lot to every single poor unit in that area. And now you made it cheaper. Okay. So, the reason I say is kind of interesting thing, because yes, you do need recon, but zeroing itself is 300 munitions because it is so goddamn strong. It is easily probably the top 5 strongest abilities you can use on the opponent. Guaranteed, like No question. It annihilates the enemy, and you're making it cheaper. Okay. Now, hopefully, and I'm giving a little bit of thing. Hopefully, the addition of the tactical map kind of compensates for that and allows the enemy to see it and hopefully get out of there, or again, your own team. But if, and again, I could easily see that being just enough because it does take time to ramp up. But oh god, if someone is not paying attention or it just doesn't know, then yeah, they're screwed. And I feel like the reason they made it cheaper was they're hoping people on the attack map see it. And again, to a 1v1 player, someone more competitive, yes. But people in a 4v4, when there's so much going on, I don't, because again, you already have abilities with airstrikes that it doesn't, like, people don't move out of the way. To be fair, it is a smaller radius. But I feel like there's enough here where I'm like, zeroing could become a little more popular. And I do mean, and it was all, in my opinion, it was already a popular, fortification is not an unpopular doctrine. It's easily one of the best. So everything here, look, special operations, they're changing a few things. Everything here is making me seem like fortifications is going to be the new hot shit. Like, I'm being honest. Like, you add in zeroing, you add in the pack, you add in the LAFH, now more focusing maybe on infantry. Again, curious to see how that changes. And now you're also changing for the fatherland in there. I find it's a very hard argument to change my opinion that fortifications is going to be a very strong commander out of all this. And I feel like the whole purpose of this so far is to boost, like, commanders that aren't as used. But, yep. Sure. Oh, boy, I'm going to fun. All I'm going to say is after this, I'm going to fun with fortifications. I'm going to have a lot of fun. All right. Osteer. 200. All right, so now we're on, again, we'll see how the Wehrmacht does. The 251 mobile observation post is being changed. The fire cost being decreased and decloak radius. So this was with the, oh god, was it strategic reserve, I think it is, or something like that. It was one of those two that now you get it with. So, okay, making it cheaper, making it a little better. Assault and Hold. Assault and Hold is having its offensive power reduced to lower the power of veterans or units. Again, similar to other, it is exactly the same as everything else. Assault Officers having its reinforced cost reduced to better reflect the squad's lack. The Assault Officers having its reinforced cost reduced to better, I'm sorry, I got whiplash there. The squad's lack of combat power for its timing when compared to other officer squads. This is the Osteer, right? The squad is also gaining increased vision radius to provide support without needing to be on the front line. I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time. The Assault Officer is being... I'm very curious. If this is the officer I'm thinking of, they're making it cheaper. My brain is having a hard time wrapping around the fact the Assault Officer is something that is lack of combat power. Unless I'm thinking of a completely different unit, I'm thinking of a very strong support unit the Osteer have that can really, really do a number. So, okay, you're making it better? Sure. Again, bit curious on that one. Like, if again, unless I'm mistaken, if I'm thinking of the right unit, it's already very powerful, so you're making it cheaper and better. Wonderful. Great. Breakthrough. To encourage the use of the ability which requires fuel, a reload bonus is being added to allow vehicles to make more aggressive push. Now provides 50% reload bonus when active. So this is Breakthrough. This is the ability in which that you can do encirclement with. So now they're making it better by increasing its reload speed. Okay. I mean, that's nice. I'll give it that. Command Panzer IV. This is the bigger one. Okay, so the Command Panzer IV is receiving a smoke shell to allow it to support an assault or cover. Makes sense. Again, if you have a tank that's supposed to support an attack or help others, makes perfect sense. CP requirements also been removed to allow the command tank to arrive when support armor corps or the heavy panzer corps has been built. The Command Panzer IV has also received 2 new Veteran C1 abilities to replace Blitzkrieg for the test. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to have the unit really rush if it's not meant to rush, it's meant to support. One of the 2 will be decided as the final ability at a later date. Alright, so what are the 2? So first off, it can fire smoke for cheap, and then you either get the light artillery barrage, similar to commander ability, fires 4, okay, and it's very cheap, or mark target, or mark vehicle. Marks a hostile vehicle for 30 seconds. Alright, which one would I rather see? Light artillery barrage or mark vehicle? Alright, so you have smoke, so you have something to get around the MG defense and stuff like that. So then you would require the light artillery barrage for what? A bunker, maybe? But the infantry could also clear it or get around it. So then what do you use it for? So if you're trying to keep with the same basic principle, you would use it with the light artillery barrage if you want the command panzer to be best at removing obstacles. If you want variety, then mark vehicle would be the best thing to do. At least for me. That way it helps both infantry and armor. The infantry with the smoke, the armor with the marked vehicle. That's how I see it. So yeah, that's what I would do. If you're trying to have variety, mark vehicle. If you're trying to have it very specific for fighting against defensive structures, light artillery barrage. Concrete bunker. Alright, the following change will make the bunker more efficient at platforms to rally defensive squads around it and as repair stations. Right, MG bunker can be reinforced with a radius 15 and repair bunker model increase count to 4. Okay, so the concrete bunker, unless I'm mistaken, is in what? The Osteer one? I think the Osteer one can build the bunker, and I think that's it, right? I could be wrong. But as far as I know, that's the only one you get. So now you're making it a very capable frontline base. Okay, look, the bunker itself is always weird and how you would use that. So the fact that you're making it essentially this forward base like thing, I think is better. It makes it stand out more so than a normal austere bunker, I should say. Counterattack tactics. To promote the ability's use, counterattack tactics will now allow squads to decapture territory quicker. Okay, this will make the ability more potent in later stages of the game. Yeah, for decapping that point and keeping yourself down, absolutely. So, okay, good. Forward resupply station. Converts a garrison building in friendly territory to a forward resupply station. Okay, so this is what they're talking about earlier with changing some of the commanders. Converted buildings have 6 pioneers. So this is better than the concrete bunker, but it still gets that rally defense round. Okay, and then what else here? Okay, so and repair vehicles reinforce nearby infantry. So essentially they just get a super base. The Soviets get a base where they heal infantry and help infantry, I think improve like the defense around there, and then these guys can get a building which is to reinforce, also heal vehicles. This cannot be on the front. I cannot see this building being on the front, even though it can heal infantry, just because of the fact you don't want vehicles getting repairs under there, because again, it can be very easily killed if they're repairing and just, boom. So they'll probably have it a little further back, but that could still easily reinforce guys and bring up to the front a lot quicker. Cost, not that expensive, but does require a lot of CP, so you're not going to see an early rush for this. You're not going to see like it deployed very quickly. It will definitely take like good, I would say 10 minutes, 12 minutes before you see this thing, so they would have to be pretty stable in a location in order to deploy it. Provides 50% relay bonus to own vehicles that are nearby. So, okay, so it's... I could easily see this changing to be a better vehicle area, so that way it provides, let's say, a defensive bonus when, let's say, there's an attack near it, or repairs vehicles. I think maybe the infantry is a bit too much, but again, it's something that would need to be tested to see how it goes. because it's not providing infantry defensive qualities that, let's say, the Ford Soviet one does. It doesn't have that ability. Instead, it provides a native ability for vehicles, so it does have a distinct flair to it. Okay, again, it'll be curious to see how it goes and how it does. I think it's more fuel than the... Well, maybe not. I have to double check to see how much the other one is, but I think it's roughly similar, but I think maybe slightly more fuel for the Osteer. Which makes sense if it's more fuel, if it's more focused on vehicles. Grenadier Jaeger Light Infantry package. Given the frailness of Grenadiers, rely on the fighting range, G43 upgrade was often downgraded the unit, especially in late game. Yep, except for the Panzer Grenadiers. To compensate for the weakness, the Jaeger Light Infantry package will now provide survivability boost to Grenadiers. Okay, so they're only changing the Grenadier, right? Deals damage similar to the Volks Grenadier. So they're only changing it for the Grenadier, not the Panzer Grenadier. Okay, as long as they're not changing the Panzer Grenadier, makes sense. If they're giving these bonuses to the Panzer Grenadier, then we might have a problem because Panzer Grenadier is already with G43. Very, very effective. Hull down. Hull down is being adjusted to no longer require infantry. Okay, that's a nice little bonus. Vehicles cannot use hull down without infantry. Makes sense. They just naturally sit into the ground. But no, I think that's nice because that's the one catch with hull down. You need something to bury the damn thing, which I get it. Like, if you're thinking about like, oh, that'll be a cool ability, you need this to go with that. No, just have the unit sit down. Ju-787 Loiter is being, anti-infantry suppression rate is being reduced. Yeah, because it doesn't do a lot of damage. It does suppress, which is great. And also the airstrike itself can't be shot down. So good thing it's decreasing the cost. Luftwaffe Field Officer. Again, curious to see how this goes. The officer squad with artillery soldiers replaced with a Fallschirmjäger. Okay, same MP40s. Smoke artillery barrage replaced with the Stuka smoke drop. So again, drop straight down instead of a plane coming in. Coordinate barrage replaced. Okay, coordinate barrage replaced with a Stuka suppression run, and then you get heavy mortar barrage replaced with a Stuka reconnaissance pass. Okay, so they're just completely changing this to more of a, I guess, an officer that can just call in like special strikes and stuff like that. Okay, that's nice. I'll give it that. That's pretty like a nice little set of abilities right there. And again, it would give the Osteer an ability for, again, having all of these abilities plus recon. I know it would be commander, but still, at least it would be a unit that can deploy the recon, similar to like the Command Panther and a lot of other things. Mortar half track, incendiary decreased cost, like everything else. Ostrupen changes no longer require their LNG to be restricted behind the final tier. Oh, so it's now behind Battle Phase 2 rather than 3. Okay, that makes him definitely more potent in the middle of the game. So that's good. Or I would say around the, like, what, the 10-15 minute mark is where Battle Phase 2 usually comes into play. Construction speed also has been decreased. Can now... Okay. Good. Again, Ostrupen need a little push. Hopefully this allows it. I don't see them... I don't see it making them overpowered or anything. I think Ostrupen are still weak enough compared to riflemen and even like some Soviet and definitely British forces that I don't... You just have to worry about numbers. That's the big thing about Ostrupen. But I don't think that changes them. It's not the attack power is going to do too much. At least in my opinion. I don't think this is it. So Panzer Grenadier support package. Munition cost from 30 to 20 and rudimentary repair rate increased. So... Alright, so it makes them less effective. And Panzer Grenadiers are already pretty damn effective, so okay, not bad. And they're decreasing the cost to increase the rate, so that's fine. Alright, Panzer Tactician. Panzer Tactician is getting a slight delay to activation, make it slightly harder to instantly block sight. Makes sense. It's like, okay, activate it. And it takes like the plop and then all the smoke to come out. Makes sense. Puma. Due to the late CP timing of the Puma, which is geared to fight vehicles, its build time is being reduced to allow it to arrive on the battlefield sooner. Okay, cool. Relief infantry. Let's see. Number of squads it granted is being lowered. In exchange, relief infantry will now provide other boosts such as improvements to build times and reinforced speed. Okay. Only one squad now. But Austrian squad that arrives always has an MG42. Okay. The now speeds up reinforcement and build times for all units by 50%. So you can definitely, if you can activate this and actually use it into more as a kind of getting things back in order rather than in the middle of a fight, right? I'm assuming, like, that's the whole point, is get it right at the end of a fight where you're losing a bunch of units. That way you lose it, you get a squad back, and in turn you can reinforce and regather strength in the sector that you had this big climactic battle in. So I'm curious to see how that goes. Sector assault, to make more difficult to enter areas being protected by sector assault, the delay of the first shells being launched when target areas sighted. So they're changing the delay. Okay. Don't see too much there. Stormtroopers. Vehicle detection decreased. Fine. Oh, strategic bombing run. All right. So is it? I'm assuming it has. Oh, but it's dropping incendiary, so it's definitely different from the British one. They're immune to AA fire, which is similar to the British one, so they're just making it comparable to that. So I'm curious to see how much damage it does. But if it's high explosive and then incendiary, it's going to do quite a bit. So again, I think it's good because I know the British, the Americans, and the Soviets distinctly, I mean, in general, at least, well, I can't actually take that back. Let me rephrase that. The Americans and the Soviets typically don't have bunkers and all these other defensive natures. I know that's slightly changed. We'll get to the Soviets, but this will allow, at least for all the British emplacements, to have a definitely hard counter to it. So if you're like, oh, the British are overpowered with their emplacements, well, here's your bombing strike to burn them out. So there you go. Sugi is given more utility. The unit is gaining a smoke barrage to cover the assaults. An anti-infantry machine gun can also be added to provide additional firepower. Thank God. All right, they're making sure that it has something. Stuka incendiary bombing run is being adjusted to be more lethal against infantry by increasing how fast the damage will be. Oh, okay, so they are increasing the damage. Nice. All right, good. So they are making it better for those who still want to use the incendiary bombing run. Tiger is receiving a CP reduction and the Balance 2 weapon scatter. Okay. Tiger Ace are decreasing the cost. Makes sense. It's not that big of a difference compared to, let's say, a King Tiger. So yeah, make it roughly on par with that. Makes perfect sense in my opinion. All right, vehicle for crew repair. 4 CP ability, acts like an OKW. Emergency repair, costs 35 munitions. Good. All right. So now we're on to the Soviets with the 120mm mortar. It's having its reload time barrage reduced. Previously, they were too high when combined with the slowest shell speed to do high angle arc. We're also giving the unit new Balance 1 ability to differentiate from the P41 mortar, which reinforces its role as a heavy artillery piece. Delayed fuse rounds. Interesting. Will always penetrate vehicles and deal more direct damage to targets, making them ideal against fortified positions, but ineffective against mobile infantry. Cool. Okay. I know a lot of people, it's weird. I've had a lot of people complain about the 120mm mortar recently. It's just not being as effective. So this could be good. This could be a nice little thing. Okay, here's the 152 howitzer strike. Drops 12 shells, 150 munitions, and requires line of sight. So again, makes sense. Another direct strike option. It's artillery based for the Soviets. Good. Advanced fortifications having a defensive bunker added. Interesting. All right, so again, you can now build a bunker. Cool. So they get the Dushka heavy machine gun, same stats as 50 cal. It's fine. That's in the fighting positions. Cool. The fact they get the advanced fortification stuff, awesome. Airborne guards. Airborne guards are having a assault package adjusted to offer a different playstyle and be viable to the LNG upgrade. The changes reinforce their role as ambushers with a large number of abilities to aid them during combat. Okay. Very, very curious. Very curious to see. PPSH, again, removed. Now camouflages and also decrease. Awesome. Again, good. Armored vehicle detection ability has been received a major change to promote its use. By allowing tank guns to track vehicle targets by a short period of time, it should allow the Soviets to maintain line of sight on vehicles for an additional follow-up shots. That's cool. Okay, because yeah, usually a hard thing to do is actually hit it, and I know that ability can be a little wonky, so hey, that's awesome. The fact they can try to get that last shot. Assault guards have been heavily adjusted to be a standalone unit that does not require an M5 to bring them in. Thank God. Again, it seems like in this patch they're like, okay, let's cut out all the secondary stuff that comes in with a unit that people want. So yeah, they're removing the half track. They're changing the price to 300 manpower for the unit. Changing population size. Unit can now comes with a 6-man unit with SVTs. Can they be upgraded with 3 Thompson SMGs? Wait, these are Soviet. Oh, no. These are Soviet Lend-Lease. That's why. So yeah, Thompson or the Elite Bazooka, which I'm assuming is the same kind of bonus they get for Rangers or the Paratroopers as Bazooka's getting the upgrade. You get Grenade, ability similar to the Assault Grenadier Grenade. Let's see, Veterancy 1, Tripwire Flare replaced with the Self-Healing when out of combat. Interesting. Oh, Veterancy 1 too. Very cool. And Veterancy 2 adds a -% reloads to the squad. Very cool. I'm glad that they're actually giving this unit the viability to, be introduced and actually, be effective rather than, unfortunately, in one doctrine in a half track that no one ever uses because it's in a half track that why would you call in? So cool. Very nice to see. Very nice to see them add that in. And hopefully it's a good unit. All right. Now to the part where everyone's been waiting for my opinion on. B4 203mm howitzer. The B4 is receiving changes to how the unit functions. The damage has been reduced in exchange for being able to fire more shells in the target area. This will make the unit more effective at barraging defensive lines and less reliant on RNG of the first shell. Shells fired increase 1 to 3. You get a barrage damage decrease from 640 to 300. Adjust AoE from, I believe it's increased. So they're increasing the AoE. And AoE in mid has changed from 5 to 2.5, and AoE distance near to 0. Barrage recharge from 60 to 80. Okay. So, anyway, the commissar. No. Alright, so the B4 is something that, again, I have, and I've used quite a bit, and it's helped promote my channel. So, take that bias into consideration when I discuss this. However, also consider that I actually tested it. I did a couple testing with armored vehicles, defensive lines, bunkers, other artillery pieces, and compared so to the 152. And my general thoughts are, if in this situation, if you are dealing with point-blank, close-range infantry, the B4 is very good. It can still do quite a bit of damage to the infantry and wipe them instantly. So even with the reduced damage, it's still enough to pulverize infantry. But you still fucked it up. Oh boy. I don't know if they just thought, yeah, we'll just increase the shells and that's fine. But I did test with the 152, and the 152 was out DPSing the B4. That should never happen if a B4, and here's the thing, it's not very far from overall from where the B4 is, and the reason I put this up is because the B4 specializes in close to medium range. I know it has the range of everything else, but it's not meant for that at all. It is meant for having close to mid-range combat, and against any sort of fortification or tank, this thing was laughable. It was bad. The 152 was out DPSing it against armor, bunkers, fortifications of any type, including like battle group headquarters. It was hilarious. I'm sitting there and I'm like, this has to be a joke. This has to be some weird alteration in order to, like, on paper, I understand what they're going for. They're trying to make an artillery piece to help deal with that stuff. The problem is they decreased the damage enough. They made it the area of effect small enough that it doesn't have the impact. And you absolutely want the 152 because it's still doing way more for what it is compared to this. And the 152 got additional bonuses. So if this goes through, unfortunately, the tank hunter doctrine, getting the B4, is actually worse at fighting tanks. Because you could also say, well, Greyshot. Well, the B4 still has the direct fire option to hit the tank. And I'm sure, you know, if the B4 shot hits the tank, it's going to do some damage. No! That's the crazy thing. I actually tested it against tanks. And once again, the 152 was doing more damage. The direct shot, which cost 70 munitions, did like, I want to say, and I'm being generous here, I think it was like 33%, maybe 40% damage to a Panzer IV. Whereas previously, once again, and this makes up for the barrage damage, it would one-shot a Panzer IV or a Jagdpanzer. So yeah, if they're trying to make this function better at barraging defensive lines, I'm sorry, but you failed epically in that update. I'm sorry. And again, this is something I've tested. I'll be testing a bunch of different units to see how they come to play, but I wanted to at least test this feature while going over this, so at least I had my direct thoughts into it. And again, I will be putting into the forums video footage, all this stuff, so that way they can see like the damage output and what it's doing. But yeah, they need to change something. And again, the good news is this is a beta. They can. But yeah, I 100% get why. This is a very weird unit. It's very weird because it fires one shot, high damage, high risk. And also it's a unit that's very easily destroyable. And again, this is my counterpoint to the LEFH. Direct strike, B4 is gone. So it's not, and it's a unit that you need closer to the front, which actually makes it more susceptible to not only direct strike, but also to Stukas and Panzerwerfers and all sorts of other artillery. So yeah, if you're making it so that way this unit is supposed to be designed to fight enemy emplacements, you fail because it also sucks at killing bunkers. Like I just tried to have it fight bunkers and it failed. Infantry, it's still fine at, but again, the 152 is overall still doing way more damage against defensive structures, tanks, and generally infantry. If it got direct hit, it would be on par with each other. And also, another thing I should note, the B4 is currently bugged. Yeah, that's right. So it's supposed to fire 3 shots, and I understand the idea of like, okay, it fires it under 80 seconds. The bug was firing 1 shot and then nothing else. Like, I'm not entirely sure what caused it, because I tried just making it and it would fire and then it would stop. And then I'll try making Veteran C3 or Veteran C2 or decrewing it and do it. Like, it just kept doing the bug. So I don't know if they still need to fix it. But right now, the firing 3 shots doesn't always work. And if you're only firing 1 shot at 40% of the original strength, roughly, what, 40%? Okay, a little bit higher. 45, well, attacking the 1. Okay, we'll say 45 and end it there before I lose my mind. But it's a weaker strength. If you're doing all that and it's bugging out and doing all this other things and the area effect is smaller and overall its scatter rate is not good enough to compare to a 152, then the B4 has lost its purpose. So yeah, I think this would just be a situation where they just go back to the drawing board and maybe just alter around the area of effect or the damage. And I'm not actually opposed to making it more barrages. I actually think that could be a good idea. It's just right now what they're doing with the B4 just makes it seem like it's an ineffective unit except for point blank shots against infantry, which is probably something that I don't think they're trying to go for. Because again, point blank is not something you want for an artillery piece. If so, just give it the single barrage. Just give it that. Because then it's more likely to hit that target point blank than a weaker shot. Because then it's not going to do really anything. It's absolutely not worth 70 munitions for a direct shot on a Panzer IV. It's absolutely not worth it. So yeah, this is the one where at least my expertise as someone who knows and plays the B4 and who tested it on an area in which I normally play with the B4 and tested it against a full German defense, the 152 did better. So if the 152 is doing better in that regard, something needs changed. That is my thoughts on that. Anyway, going back to this, the Commissars, see fear propaganda again. They changed that. Oh yeah, because they changed the propaganda stuff. Conscript assault package now it's a 4th PPSH. Oh, interesting. Conscript repair package renamed to infantry repair package. Penals can now repair. Penals repair. Oh, okay. I'm happy. I am happy. Okay, penals repair. I'm gonna have to check out that doctrine. Fear propaganda now is a warning smoke. Good. Fires first shell, which now automatically slows units and causes 25% received accuracy rather than random chance of an effect. Fear propaganda also adds a received accuracy debuff of plus 25%. Okay, so it's slowing the unit, and instead of just randomly doing stuff, it makes them more deadly. Okay, interesting. So it's definitely better against like bigger pushes. It won't cause them to retreat, which wait, at least I don't think it will. Okay, so rather than a random chance of an effect. Okay. Interesting. So I'm curious to see how this works, because sure, you're definitely slowing them down, which hopefully you can definitely neutralize them, but I'm also seeing debuff duration from 30 to 15, so kind of curious to see how this affects the blob, and is this comparable to the unit retreating? Because again, it can retreat packs, which is a very unique ability. For the Motherland, all right, let's see. For the Motherland, bonus infantry from 50% weapon accuracy to 15% weapon accuracy. All right, and then also for the Motherland now provides minus 10% received accuracy for infantry under its fire. Okay, so again, this is pretty much similar to everything else they did. And it's only for infantry from 50%. So the one thing I will say is this would probably affect the B4 in the direct fire option. So this would also make it less accurate. So again, if you're making the ability to have it more accurate, less accurate, which again, that's what 4 Mother Russia can do. Yeah, I don't know what the whole goal of the B4 is. Like, I'm being honest. I don't, like, you're making it so that RNG is less effective, but then you're removing the ability for it to do it, so thereby increasing what RNG will be affecting it rather than what it won't be. So then you're making less damage, and already it doesn't do much. So yeah, it's not going to be great. Like I said, they're going to have to do something with the B4 and with that whole doctrine. Because otherwise, if they do what they're doing with the B4, I wouldn't recommend tank hunters or the counterattacks. I would actually stop using it. Like, I'm being honest. I would honestly stop using it because the 152 is a better artillery piece then, from what my tests have been able to show. IL-2 rocket run. The penetration thing. Okay, so they're doing it. The penetration in the back from 340 to 80, so that way the bigger vehicles, okay, less potent. Okay, which makes sense. You're lining up that shot, which a lot of people do. But I'm actually curious to see how much damage it would do against vehicles. So I may have to do a test on that. Again, I think I'll do a video more specifically about tests with everything else other than the B4. IL-2 Cervic strafing run. Yeah, is being just to provide more reliable damage. It needed to. It was underperforming. So now it's increasing the damage. Cost has been adjusted to reflect the ability's power. So they're increasing the power, 90 to 110. Okay, good. IS-2, let's see. They're changing the battery requirements to be easier to upgrade. Cool. KV-1, damage reduction of the KV-1 is being removed to increase the amount of time needed to repair the potent vehicle. Okay. So they're increasing its population as well. The chance to hold down ensures the KV will still require 8 shots to be killed off by most AT guns. So it still will take quite a bit of time. Okay, interesting. So they're definitely, they see the KV maybe overperforming in the damage done, so they want it like repairs. I still don't think it's that big of a deal to increase the population of it that much. Okay, so the KV-1, it's increasing its health. That way it takes more time to repair. That's why the whole damage reductions change. Population's increasing and the hull down reduction is being changed. So again, it's still fine. It's just they're changing population, which I find weird. I don't think the KV is some super strong tank that requires that. I think maybe just 1 would be more suitable. 2 is a little much. But yeah, again, so that might make it a little harder to pick the KV. It's still a great tank to take hits, but the fact that it will take no longer to repair, that could be annoying, because it does already take quite a bit of time to repair for the KV. So this could be an issue. If you combine this with 4 Mother Russia having decreased accuracy, combine that with the B4 being, I'm not going to say useless, but definitely way less effective than the clearing enemy defensive structures or enemy vehicles or enemy infantry or anything like that, then counterattacks is essentially going to become one of the worst doctrines in the overall commander choice. Again, I find it weird that they're putting so much on this, but yeah, that's definitely. I think here it's just. Here, I think my only gripe is the population. I don't think it needs to change in population. I think just changing the hold down time and the health increase is most suitable, because I don't think the KV is something that you can't kill. It's something that you can very easily neutralize. Because again, the biggest issue with the KV is his main gun is not great. That it can take a lot of hits, but it's not a damage dealer. So anyway, so they changed the call-in through the lease. The ML220 has now gone to Smoke Barrage. I have tested this. I actually like it. Again, nice little ability. Gets a nice little smoke, so you can clear off the territory. If the enemy retreats, it still drops down smoke, so you have quite a bit of time where you can chase it down. Partisans. All right, so let's see. Partisans have been changed. To start with, the Card 98K, slightly worse than the Card Morzens in terms of reload and moving accuracy. Merged into one, now it's 2 separate upgrade paths. So in this case, you get Partisans where you can get the AT package, or you get the PPSH upgrade. Okay, so you would need to upgrade it before you go. I mean, it can still spawn in areas, I assume. Concussion Trap now stops the unit's ability to capture the point for 5 seconds. Okay. Increased damage. Very interesting. Here's the thing. The problem with Partisans, at least to me, is not the fact... It's not the fact that the Partisan unit is... how do I put this? It's not the fact the Partisan unit is... I'm trying to think of the best way to describe this. It's not the fact the Partisan unit is hard to kill. It's not. It's very easy. It's not the fact that it doesn't need upgrades. I mean, it's fine. You give them upgrades, whatever. And cool additional abilities. It's just too expensive. Like 26 manpower for a Partisan is quite a bit. I know it's a lot. I think like 24 would be more reasonable for a reinforcement upgrade. Comparatively so. Because otherwise, again, it makes it seem like a way stronger unit than it actually is. So I'm fine with it giving upgrade paths. That's really interesting. But again, it's one of those things where it's the reinforce that's the key issue with me. That's the reason why I don't like Partisans. They're too costly, in my opinion, for what they do. Anyway, you got the anti-tank mines, which are being renamed. Allows ninjas to build tank traps. Oh, awesome. And also the advanced bunkers and fortifications. Cool. That's awesome. The fact that they're allowing all that. That's cool. So that really I think it's community defense that's in. Really helped them out. PTS conscripts are now being changed to 1. Rapid conscription. Again, this is similar to the Osteer one. Shock troops increase population. Okay, I mean, shock troops are pretty powerful. I'll give you that. Spy network only affects owning players. That was always weird that other Soviets would see it, but no one else would. So, okay. SVT crates. The following changes relate to SVT rifles, but this upgrade timing on par with the other weapon upgrades. Makes sense. Okay. That it gives it a little bit more time before you get those upgrades. And you get the Zis cargo truck, which again I've already now made it so Smart Arms Fire can take them on. So hey, you get additional resources too. Perfect. And then they've also made some bug fixes like the bunker upgrade site bonus to longer stack. Good idea. And the M15 half-track machine gun should now obey only hold fire. That's good. All right. Overall, weirdly, the Soviets get some good things, but I feel like the Soviets are getting nerfed a little bit. Like, this is definitely a nerf. Look, the strafing gun's an increase. That's great. Fear propaganda could be. It depends on how it's used. Conscripts, again, that's good. B4, definitely. The KV1's weird. Assault guards are good. Again, another cool unit that you can add. That's awesome. Yeah. Additional pallets are fine. Mortar. I feel like the Soviets is more mixed bag. I feel like the Soviets could be the one where, out of all the commanders, it's the one receiving the most negatives. At least in my general opinion of all the commanders so far being upgraded. I think it's the one that's taken the most hits. To be fair, I'm also biased because, again, I'll say it. I'm the one who's more likely to use the B4, the KV, and the shock troops. But I'll admit, shock troops, yeah, increased population, that makes sense. But my biggest contention is, especially after testing it, I don't think this is good path. I can live with the KV being more expensive. That's fine. That's perfectly reasonable, and I'll see how that goes. But from what I tested, this B4 upgrade path is not good. Like, again, the damage it was doing, the 152 was doing better. overall, consistently, it was doing better. And you could say, yeah, it's up to the RNG, but the whole point of the B4 as well is you fire one salvo and it's meant to be a shock and awe mentality. I mean, the whole point of the B4 is they bring it up close to a building and fire it in like Berlin to help heavy fortifications. It's meant for point blank. Here, it fires the shot, but it's not killing the bunkers. It's not killing all that stuff consistently enough. And again, I tested this multiple times between the 152 and that, even against like King Tigers and other things like that, like seeing its damage output. And yeah, the B4 was absolutely not keeping par. And even damage-wise, it wasn't doing much. The Osteer or OKW could easily reinforce or repair by the time. And I know it's weird to say that when it has 3 shots and technically doing more damage, but because of how those shots are pinging off and going separate and the lack of area of effect, it's not doing as much. So yeah, I that's the one thing I will definitely say I think does need a change or alteration to how this goes. But I do appreciate the fact that they are looking into somehow changing the B4 to make it similar to other artillery pieces in the game, because again, makes sense. It is definitely a weird artillery piece, but I don't think this is what it's going to do, because otherwise I think they're just going to make counterattacks not a viable doctrine anymore. But hey, that's my thoughts overall. What do you guys think? Please leave it down in the comments down below overall. I know this has been probably a very long video to go over all this stuff, but it's a lot of things. It's a lot of things indeed. But hey, if you have comments that you want to change it, please leave it down in the feedback areas on the link that well, on the community page. And again, I'll leave that link down below so you guys can update all that stuff. But yeah, this has been Greyshot17 going over the commander update, and I'll see all of you next time. Probably going over the top, we'll say 10, 15 abilities you want me to test. So if you want me to test something, leave it down below and I'll give you an analysis video on those. But we'll see y'all then. Alright, before you guys go, I want to give a special shout out to Patreon supporters Joey G240, Milam, Aphyria, Ace, PyroShark, Tony B95, Epic Pleb, Fall of Man 7943, XSomeToolx, and Netkuba. Thank you all for your incredible support. You guys rock. This has been Greyshot17, and I'll see all of you next time.